Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanks his Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim for deepening a partnership rooted in trust, friendship and shared aspirations during his Kuala Lumpur visit. Indian and Malaysian Prime Ministers hold delegation-level talks. Both sides exchange 11 pacts, agree to elevate ties in energy, manufacturing, digital economy, semiconductors, education, tourism, among others. The US gives a June deadline to end the Ukraine-Russia conflict, warns pressure on both sides to meet and find solution. Meanwhile, Zelensky accuses Moscow of continuing attacking power facilities. And Japanese voters cast their ballot trudging through snow on Sunday in snap polls forecast to hand Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae a resounding victory. Parts of the country receive heavy dumps which could hit turnout. Well, first up, let's get you images of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's departure from Kuala Lumpur. He was on a 2-day visit to Malaysia, his first foreign visit in 2026 to a partner which is a leading nation in ASEAN as well. This is India's Act East policy of work which was initiated by the government of Prime Minister Modi when it first came to power after 2014. And this is Act East in action in Kuala Lumpur. Now, during his 2-day visit to Malaysia, Prime Minister Modi held wide-ranging talks with his Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim, who incidentally had received him at the airport when Prime Minister Modi had landed. Both leaders highlighted a joint intent to deepen cooperation across security, trade, technology, defense and people-to-people ties. Following the discussions and exchange of 11 documents, including MOUs and letters, So that's Prime Minister Modi departing from a very successful trip, his first foreign trip to an ASEAN nation, that is Malaysia. He was there in Malaysia's capital, Kuala Lumpur, and as you can see, he got a culturally rich and at the same time ceremonial send-off there from Kuala Lumpur. And as I was saying, it's been a successful visit because the outcome has been fairly substantial. 11 documents have been exchanged and they cover a very wide range from, cooperation on big cats to even semiconductors. India and Malaysia have been long-standing partners, but that partnership has been strengthened and taken into previously unexplored domains as well with this visit to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Let's get you all the updates about that visit itself. Well, first, India and Malaysia have taken several steps on Sunday to further their comprehensive strategic partnership on day 2 of Prime Minister Modi's KL visit. Formal talks were followed by the exchange of several memorandums of understanding and other documents, including on security cooperation, UN peacekeeping, semiconductors, health and medicine, disaster management, combating corruption, audiovisual co-production, vocational education, social security, big cats as well. Also, in an important step, Prime Minister Modi announced a dedicated Thiruvalluvar Centre at the University of Malaysia, as well as institution of Thiruvalluvar scholarships. The centre and the scholarships will act as catalysts in enhancing the propagation of teachings of Thiruvalluvar and strengthening people-to-people ties. The Indian diaspora, almost 3 million strong in Malaysia. Now, Prime Minister also announced the opening of its first consulate in Malaysia to further strengthen bilateral relations and people-to-people ties. As part of the bilateral overall connectivity initiatives, NIPL and PayNet of Malaysia will collaborate to establish bilateral payment linkages, including through UPI. India and Malaysia already have a rupee and their currency trade. Now, this will enhance ease of doing business and provide seamless, low-cost remittance and payment solutions for tourists, students and businesses. Malaysia completed all procedures for joining International Big Cat Alliance as well. The report of the 10th India-Malaysia CEO Forum was also presented to the leaders. Now, addressing the joint press statement, Prime Minister Modi said that Malaysia is the first nation which he is paying a visit to in this 2026, this new year. He highlighted the close bond between the two nations, describing it as a very special relationship and reaffirmed the commitment of both sides to broaden engagement across multiple sectors.
सिक्योरिटी के क्षेत्र में हम काउंटर टेररिज्म, इंटेलिजेंस शेयरिंग और मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी में सहयोग मजबूत करेंगे। हम रक्षा सहयोग को भी और व्यापक बनाएंगे। एआई और डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजीज के साथ साथ हम सेमीकंडक्टर, हेल्थ और फूड सिक्योरिटी में साझेदारी को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। आज आयोजित सीईओ फोरम ने ट्रेड और इन्वेस्टमेंट के नए अवसर खोले हैं। हम स्ट्रेटेजिक ट्रस्ट से इकोनॉमिक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का रास्ता बनाएंगे।
Prime Minister Modi also stressed on strong cultural ties and the importance of Indo-Pacific and reiterated India's commitment to peace and stability in the region.
भारत और मलेशिया को तमिल भाषा के प्रति साझा प्रेम भी जोड़ता है। मलेशिया में तमिल की मजबूत और जीवंत उपस्थिति शिक्षा, मीडिया और सांस्कृतिक जीवन में दिखाई देती है। मुझे भरोसा है कि आज के ऑडियो विजुअल एग्रीमेंट से फिल्म और संगीत, विशेष रूप से तमिल फिल्में, हमारे दिलों को और पास लाएगी। हम अपने युवाओं के बीच यूनिवर्सिटी एक्सचेंज, स्टार्टअप कनेक्ट और स्किल डेवलपमेंट के अवसर भी बढ़ा रहे हैं। हमारे बढ़ते संबंधों को सपोर्ट करने के लिए हम मलेशिया में नया कॉन्सुलेट भी खोलने जा रहे हैं। फ्रेंड्स, इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र के विश्व की ग्रोथ इंजन के रूप में ये उभर रहा है। हम आसियान के साथ पूरे इंडो पैसिफिक क्षेत्र में विकास, शांति और स्थिरता के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है।
The Prime Minister also reiterated India's stand against terrorism and called for reforming global institutions to address global uncertainties.
वैश्विक अस्थिरता के इस माहौल में भारत और मलेशिया की बढ़ती मित्रता दोनों देशों के लिए अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण है। हमारा साझा मत है कि आज के चैलेंजेस का समाधान करने के लिए ग्लोबल इंस्टीट्यूशंस का रिफॉर्म बहुत जरूरी है। हम शांति के सभी प्रयासों का समर्थन करते रहेंगे और आतंकवाद पर हमारा संदेश स्पष्ट है। नो डबल स्टैंडर्ड्स, नो कॉम्प्रोमाइज। एक्सेलेंसी, भारत मलेशिया संबंधों के प्रति आपकी प्रतिबद्धता का हम सराहना करते हैं। आइए हम साथ मिलकर प्रॉस्परस मलेशिया का आपका सपना और विकसित भारत के हमारे संकल्प को साकार करें।
And on his part, Prime Minister Modi's Malaysian counterpart Anwar Ibrahim lauded Prime Minister Modi's peace efforts at global front and said that exchanges with PM Modi are not just diplomatic, rather they are exchanges between friends. Listen in.
In my discussions with Prime Minister Modi, it is not just normal pious platitudes and diplomatic exchanges. It is an exchange between true friends, full of trust and understanding. And therefore, I must also take this opportunity to express my regards and thanks to him for his firm commitment to support all peace efforts throughout the world, be it in Ukraine, Russia, or in the case of the Middle East, and particularly in Gaza. His commitment to support the peace process is unequivocal. And I must therefore express my appreciation. And as a sign of our good relations, I immediately have agreed to support the decision of the government of India to open a consulate of India in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah.
And Prime Minister Ibrahim also said that India is growing by leaps and bounds and Malaysia wants to increase its trade with India.
India is growing by leaps and bounds. It's one spectacular rise in the international economic and trade scene, and therefore Malaysia in the ASEAN context would certainly benefit immensely if we could secure more ways and opportunities to collaborate with India, to extending beyond the $18.59 billion that we achieved in 2025.
Let's now take you across to DD India's Meghna Dev, joining us from Kuala Lumpur to talk about this 2 days of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Malaysia. Now, I believe, Meghna, Prime Minister Modi is emplaned back for New Delhi, and he's carrying with him a rich haul of several enhancing moves that have been made in Kuala Lumpur to improve and deepen and even strengthen ties with Malaysia.
Yes, Gautam, Prime Minister has emplaned for New Delhi, and as you said, definitely a lot was on the agenda when both the leaders met. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim. Important sectors that were discussed were very much expected, especially talking about the semiconductor sector, because we know that Malaysia has been a key player in the semiconductor industry since past over 30 years now, and India is emerging as an important or is actually trying to accelerate its semiconductor ecosystem. So both are become very natural partners in the case that both have a lot to gain from each other, because India provides the kind of scale in manufacturing and in that sector, and Malaysia already has that kind of deep knowledge, R&D and much more in the sector. So both very naturally they become partners, and when this collaboration will deepen further, it will definitely help not only industries who want to invest in India, but also many people, professionals who will get upskilling, who will get jobs, chip designing, manufacturing, fab facilities and much more in the semiconductor sector, because Malaysia in itself, the semiconductor industry and allied industry, it contributes a lot to its GDP and is around 20% of its exports. So definitely it's a very massive, semiconductors hold a very massive potential that obviously India also wants to collaborate with Malaysia in this front. Besides that, also, you know, when I go through the joint statement, there have been many other areas that Prime Minister Narendra Modi also called it high value sectors. That these important sectors like infrastructure, energy, renewables, advanced manufacturing, healthcare, hospitality, green technology. These are some of the important sectors that the collaboration and cooperation in these can be deepened even further, can be strengthened even further. Besides that, there are many companies, specifically Malaysian companies, who want to invest in India, and many Indian companies who want to invest in Malaysia. And there are already many companies in the sector of manufacturing and technology firms which are actually providing high skilled jobs here. So this is the current scenario, which definitely will be strengthened with this visit. Obviously opening new horizons to new areas of cooperation. Besides, though we saw a lot happening in the trade sector in terms of the ASEAN-India trades in good agreement that Prime Minister Narendra Modi said both the sides want it to be finalized very soon. The SECA, also the review of the SECA is also very important, the economic cooperation that is there. We know that Malaysia is India's third largest trading partner in the ASEAN, with Singapore being the first. There is a lot more potential between, as Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said, that we want this trade to grow. It is somewhere around 90 billion US dollars. It has a lot more potential to grow. So these are the diverse sectors specifically pertaining to the economic front that were discussed very closely, being that this visit was also being watched by businesses from both the sides. So there's a lot in store for them also to understand from this visit.
Right. And what about cooperation in the fields of defense, security, and ensuring that the sea lanes are free for navigation for all?
Yes, when we actually see that, in the defense and security cooperation, the joint statement has also a lot to say. But before that, I would also like to highlight the point where both the prime ministers had strongly condemned terrorism, all its forms, manifestations, including cross-border terrorism, calling for zero tolerance of terrorism, agreeing to counter radicalization and as well as violent extremism. Both the leaders also agreed to cooperate in the area of transnational crime, as well as the cyber crime and the crimes that are happening digitally, financing of terrorism also. So this was one of the important aspects where both the leaders talked about. When we're talking about maritime cooperation between India and Malaysia, we know that there are a lot of port calls that happen between India and Malaysia, maintaining a good maritime cooperation. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that this needs to be enhanced. Obviously, Prime Minister also said that we want the Indo-Pacific to be stable. The Indo-Pacific needs to be stable and secure for all. So that is also one of the messages that he gave time and again. Prime Minister has been, India for that matter, has been saying that Indo-Pacific needs to be fair, safe and secure for all players. But besides that, the defense delegations and other companies also need to enhance the cooperation in this sector, is what came out of this visit. But having said that, there have been many other meetings and delegations that have come to India or have gone to Malaysia to talk more on strengthening the defense cooperation. But what more will come out of the visit, we'll get to know in the time to come. That not only in terms of maintenance or retrofitting of defense equipment, or for example, the defense equipment or Su-30, or for that matter, other important assets that we have. But besides that, more can come in the defense cooperation sector if more companies are interested.
Certainly. And we see that companies are interested because of that business forum meeting that took place. Thanks a lot for joining us. For the moment, Meghna Dev from Kuala Lumpur. Now, let me take you across to Dr. Rajan Kumar. He's from the School of International Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University to talk about what has happened as far as Prime Minister Modi's visit is concerned over the 2 days that he was there in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. It seems we're having some trouble connecting with our guests at the moment. We will try and reconnect with our guest in just a bit, but let me just recollect for you what has happened so far. And I see that Dr. Kumar is back with us. Dr. Kumar, what do you make of the kind of documents which have been exchanged this time around? Is it a pointer clearly to India and Malaysia forging a new path in terms of where their cooperation has gone so far and adding more elements to it?
Thank you, Gautam, for having me here. Definitely, without any doubt, this was a very important visit of Prime Minister to a very important country in Southeast Asia. This, as you know, Malaysia is a member of ASEAN, and in terms of economy, size, etc., this is a third largest economy and important country. So Prime Minister Modi's visit kind of it built upon some of the things which have been emerging in the last few years. As you know, in 2024, India and Malaysia they became the comprehensive strategic partnership, which basically covers all the areas. And as Meghna, your reporter, pointed out, that there has been agreements. Joint statement covers a wide spectrum of areas, right from security to defense, geopolitics, and energy, green energy, and then most important in today's time, which is semiconductor, which is important from the global supply chain perspective. Also, the statement was made on the free navigation in the sea, essentially referring to the issue of Chinese growing influence in the region. So, in my view, it consolidates some of the things which were building up in the last few years. And this visit is important because this is important first because you have to see in the larger perspective. Malaysia is a member of ASEAN, and we want to have very strong ties with ASEAN. We have very good trading cooperation with ASEAN. Also, there's an issue, and a very important issue, which is related to trade deficit, because we have with ASEAN, if I tell you, we have a trade of more than $125 billion, roughly, I'm saying. And out of that, we have a huge trade deficit with ASEAN countries. And this trade deficit has increased in the last few years after the signing of Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with ASEAN. So we are working on that. Although this visit was essentially bilateral, but you can see from the messages from the joint statement, there are several multilateral issues which were also discussed. So ASEAN, multilateralism within the ASEAN framework, then security within the Indo-Pacific, also the bilateral issues where number of agreements have been signed in health sector, education, energy, etc., and again semiconductor, and also the transfer of this what you call payment, where Indian payment system would be linked to the Malaysian payment system. So all these agreements kind of they support the idea that that India and Malaysia, they need to work together. They're working together. Also, one important thing which came out in the last 2 days meeting, India's Prime Minister Modi's emphasis on this diaspora connection. As you know that Malaysia has one of the largest Indian diaspora. Total, if I tell you people of Indian origin, so that's about 27 lakh people. And if I call all the diaspora, including the NRIs, etc., so it's about roughly about 29 lakh people. So Prime Minister also emphasized on that. Several educational cooperation agreements were also signed. So that this was a very important visit of Prime Minister Modi to Malaysia, and this is within the broader framework of what you call Act East policy, which was initiated when Prime Minister Modi first time became the Prime Minister here, and he he started working. He converted this lookist policy of 1990s to actist policy. So it falls within the larger frame of that actist policy. And again, because Malaysia also has, well, let me tell you, very good, strong ties with China. But at the same time, Malaysia and a number of other countries in Southeast Asia, they seek to diversify their foreign policy with other countries, in which context the Western countries, but also India becomes important. And as you know, India is a powerful emerging economy today, and Malaysia and all the Southeast Asian countries know that one country which can play a very balancing role and which can lead, kind of pull up the economies of Southeast Asia. So apart from China, that has to be India. And given the proximity that we have with these countries in terms of trade, cultural connectivity, etc., it's much easier for Malaysia and other countries of Southeast Asia to cooperate with India. So I think it was a very important visit, and it consolidated some of the things which were building up in the last few years.
Certainly. Let's go a little granular on this. Let's talk about this semiconductors and the scope of collaboration there, because Malaysia is a country which is the 6th largest exporter of semiconductors and has had that ability in semiconductors for decades now, 3 or 4 perhaps decades. So to what extent do you see this collaboration that India is trying to forge with Malaysia? Where do you see it going? Because India has its own semiconductor mission, which is now it's in the second iteration, a 2.0 phase, where a lot of resources have been committed, and 10 projects have also been initiated, and they will start bearing fruit perhaps later this year itself.
Absolutely. One of the issues which has emerged in the last few years because of Trump's policy, and also because of the technological rivalry which is happening between United States and China, that the global supply chain has been disrupted. Because this China controls the rare earth material, and this United States control this what you call semiconductor industry in collaboration with Taiwan. So that has become an issue because these countries are pursuing very protectionist kind of policy, and there is a fear that at any point of time, they might stop supplying to other countries. So as a consequence, what is happening in the rest of the world, that they are trying to develop and build up their own semiconductor industry, and India is pursuing very seriously. Even yesterday, if you see the newspaper today, so graphic processing unit, the agreement which we have signed with the United States, where graphic processing unit, that is an important deal which has happened between the two countries. So we are trying to develop a semiconductor industry, for which we need collaboration with countries like Taiwan, countries like United States, which is again a major supplier of the critical technology in the semiconductor sector. And now we are also in the budget. If you see India's budget, we are talking about creating data center, and we are providing some subsidies to the data center. For developing data centers, you will need what you call graphic processing units, and it will require this technology. It will also require energy, etc. And Malaysia, with its experience for a long time, I think for medium level semiconductor, etc., it can play a very important role if it decides to collaborate with India. So the agreements have been signed, and in future, because Malaysia also knows that India has the massive production capacity, and India is also the future market. So Malaysian companies would be interested in investing in India. So semiconductor, from that perspective, to avoid the disruption of global supply chain, it becomes very important collaboration with Malaysia in the semiconductor sector.
All right. And how notable is the fact that the two leaders have also emphasized increasing cooperation in the fields of defense, security, intelligence sharing, and terrorism has also been mentioned by Prime Minister Modi very strongly there. So what sort of challenges do you see which compel both India and Malaysia to come together on these issues as well, to ensure that they collaborate in ensuring better security and safety for their citizens and in the region, the wider region itself, ASEAN as well as Indo-Pacific?
Malaysia, in all practical terms, Gautam, is our neighbor, is a maritime neighbor. If you see our territory in India's territory in Andaman and Nicobar, and in Nicobar we are trying to set up a very strong maritime security arrangement. So Malaysia becomes important, and Malaysia is located just on the top of what you call this Malacca Strait, roughly about 50-kilometer stretch, and that is very important from the navigation point of view. So having important collaboration, this is to ensure free navigation, and that was this issue was raised in the joint statement where they are talking about some kind of free navigation. It also refers to the free navigation in the South China Sea, because China is becoming very assertive in the South China Sea, and that will impact the trade of all the countries in the region, including India. So whatever we send it through South China Sea to, say, for instance, to either to China, to Southeast Asia, to Taiwan, or to Japan, Korea, etc. So it will pass through that route, and we need to have very strong maritime security. So from that perspective, it becomes important. But coming to the bilateral aspect, let me tell you that these two countries have been collaborating, and they are also doing a joint exercise. In 2023, Rajnath Singh visited, and he signed a very important agreement on defense cooperation between the two countries. And we also do have some military exercises. For instance, we have Himaru, which is a joint military exercise. Again, the Samudra Lakshman, this is another, when our ships go to the ports of Malaysia, and we do some joint exercise. Joint air exercises also happen between the two countries. So for the maritime security perspective, I'll tell you, Malaysia is extremely important. And if you want to have some influence in the Malacca Strait, which is known as the choke point for China, because 25% of energy trade of China takes place through that route. So having control in that Malacca Strait becomes extremely important, and that's why you need cooperation from countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. And these are the countries which are located in that Malacca Strait. And now from the Andaman, connecting from Andaman Nicobar to that Southeast Asia, it becomes much easier if you have friendly ties with these countries. So that these are the things which are important from defense perspective, and I think in the joint statement this issue was underlined.
All right. Well, yes, they are indeed partners for long, and now the partnership being strengthened even further in areas which had previously been left unexplored. Thank you so much for talking about it with us, Dr. Arjun Kumar. Also during his Malaysia visit, Prime Minister Modi met INA veteran Jayaraj Raja Rao on Sunday and described his meeting as a very special moment. Posting on social media, the PM said Jayaraj Raja Rao's life is marked by immense courage and sacrifice, calling his meeting with the INA veteran deeply inspiring. Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed that the nation remains forever indebted to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and the brave women and men of the Indian National Army, whose valor helped shape India's destiny. INA veteran Jayaraj Raja Rao also expressed his heartfelt gratitude to Prime Minister Modi. Both exchanged words on the progress of India since early days.
It was an extremely wonderful and pleasurable blessing that I had. The Prime Minister was looking so young, and he could recollect the past of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, with whom I had the pleasure of meeting, and I was even garlanded by him. And we were talking about the progress of India since the early days, and I quite humbly congratulated the Prime Minister for being firm and developing India in many areas, caring for the villages of India, building toilets, taking care, providing for their health, and again then of course being strong, how strongly he is concentrating on the economic development of India and how it is progressing.
And the PM also interacted with people of Indian origin on day 2 of his Malaysia visit. And the PM also met Malaysian business leaders as well as CEOs in Putrajaya. He met founder and CEO of Faizon Electronics Corporation, Puah Keen Seng, in Malaysia. Faizon Electronics Corporation is a Taiwanese public electronics company which primarily designs, manufactures and sells controllers for NAND flash memory chips.
Very good discussion with the Prime Minister Modi, and to me it's a big impressive that he has a very big ambitions to build the semiconductor industry in India. And what we try to deliver to Prime Minister, we are not just going there to build factory, no. We like to transfer our technology, try to help train the talent in the local India to design the silicon, the firmware, software, and also the AI solutions. So maybe after a few more years, India will have your own ecosystem, own cluster owned by the India company, become your local India technology. Design, then produce India. This can really build the real technology owned by the India.
And Malaysian business leader Seri Vincent Tan Chi Yoon, founder and advisor of Berjaya Corporation, praised Prime Minister Modi's leadership, calling him a great Prime Minister who has made India more economically successful and developed. After a brief interaction with Prime Minister Modi, Vincent Tan described the discussion as warm and meaningful, saying he was impressed by the PM's vision. He also indicated his company's interest in expanding its presence in India, exploring luxury resort projects in New Delhi and Goa, along with opportunities in sanitary landfill and waste management.
From all that I've read about your Prime Minister, I think he's done a great job. I think he's a great Prime Minister. He's made India economically more successful, more developed, and I'm very impressed with him. I feel this discussion with him, although it's short, but it's very meaningful and very warm. He come across as a very warm person, and I'm very impressed. So I will come and visit India very soon. Our group build luxury resort, like Four Seasons in Japan, in Iceland also. We're looking to build one in Iceland. And so I said we can consider to look at New Delhi, to look at Goa. And then we talk about one of the business that we are interested is in sanitary landfill, waste management.
And Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund, Khazanah Nasional, has expressed strong confidence in India's growth story. Its managing director, Amirul Faisal Wan Zahir, met Prime Minister Modi and praised his visionary approach to building India through infrastructure, innovation and technology. Highlighting India's economic transformation since 2014, Wan Zahir said the country remains a high-conviction investment destination. Khazanah is now exploring deeper collaboration, including with its portfolio companies, and is considering doubling its investment exposure in India over the next 5 years, with a focus on jobs, connectivity and long-term growth.
It was a wonderful meeting. I have to say that the Prime Minister is quite visionary of what he wants India to be. So we spoke about how he'd like to build India, about building infrastructure, looking at innovation like technology, etc., and how we can collaborate further, not just in Khazanah, but also our portfolio company. So we talked about that. And since 2014, there's been a lot of economic transformation. I think as far as Khazanah is concerned, I think we want to, India is a wonderful place. It has a high conviction market for investments, and we were even thinking of doubling our exposure, at least for the next 5 years. Yeah. I think when you actually look at the potential increase in the wealth of the country, I think what he spoke about was the need for the younger population, it's a very young country, to be able to connect the infrastructure, the living, etc., and having good jobs. I mean, those are the things that I think we looked at and see how we can actually attract investments.
And Malaysia's state-owned energy major Petronas is looking to deepen engagement with India as well. Petronas President and Group CEO Tengku Muhammad Taufik met Prime Minister Modi in Malaysia with discussions centered on energy cooperation, hydrocarbons, clean energy and long-term partnerships. The meeting highlighted India's growing energy needs and opportunities for collaboration across the oil and gas value chain as New Delhi pushes for energy security, diversification and a transition towards a cleaner, sustainable energy future. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Israel's Netanyahu is set to meet US President Donald Trump on Wednesday with Iran on the agenda. And early elections are on in Thailand for what looks like a three-horse race. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, in the latest update where the Ukraine-Russia conflict is concerned, the United States wants Ukraine and Russia to end their nearly 4-year-long conflict by June and has offered to host talks between the two sides in Florida next week. In a nightly video address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Washington had proposed talks in Miami in a week and that Kyiv has agreed to it. He also accused Russia of overnight strikes on Ukrainian energy facilities, saying Moscow must be deprived of the ability to use the cold winter weather as leverage against Kyiv. This week's talks in Abu Dhabi concluded without a major breakthrough, but Russia and Ukraine agreed to exchange 157 prisoners of war each, resuming such swaps after a 5-month pause.
The Russians struck, among other things, at facilities on which the operation of nuclear power plant depends. And this is a danger for Ukraine, for our entire region and for Europe. Today, the units of our Ukrainian nuclear power plant reduced generation. One unit automatically shut down. There were more than 400 Russian drones and a significant part of them were Shahed. There were also almost 40 missiles of various types. Ukrainian soldiers managed to shoot down a significant part, but not all of them.
400 российских дронов.
US President Donald Trump and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are set to meet on Wednesday in Washington to discuss negotiations with Iran. In a statement, Netanyahu's office said that he believes any negotiations must include limitations on ballistic missiles and a halting of the support for Iranian access. Wednesday's meeting will mark the 6th between the two leaders since Trump took office a year ago. The US and Israel have repeatedly warned Iran that they would strike again if Tehran pressed ahead with its enrichment and ballistic missile programs. Iran and the US held negotiations in Oman on Friday, and Trump later said the talks would resume early next week. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi also hoped talks with the United States would resume soon, while reiterating Tehran's red lines. He also warned that Tehran would target US bases in the region if the US attacked Iranian territory. Meanwhile, US President Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner visited the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea on Saturday after completing a round of talks with Iran. The aircraft carrier is part of the Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, which is the most visible part of a US military buildup in the West Asian region following a violent crackdown against anti-government demonstrations last month, the deadliest domestic unrest in Iran since its 1979 revolution. After the visit, Witkoff wrote on social media that he, Kushner and Cooper met with the brave sailors and Marines aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, her strike group, and Carrier Air Wing 9, who are upholding President Trump's message of peace through strength. Now, Greenland's foreign minister has said on Saturday US talks are positive, but the outcome remains uncertain. Speaking at a joint news conference with her Danish and Canadian counterparts, Vivian Motzfeldt also welcomed the opening of Canada's new consulate in Greenland's capital Nuuk. While Denmark's foreign minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen also said at the news conference that new meetings with the United States were scheduled. Canada and France, which both oppose US President Donald Trump's claim to Greenland, opened consulates in the Danish Autonomous Territory's capital on Friday. Greenland is a semi-autonomous Danish territory which has become a focal point due to US President Trump's assertion that US control of the island is a national security priority.
We had the historical opening of the Canadian consulate here in Nuuk. This provides an important connection between our countries and peoples. The consulate would serve as an essential bridge for future cooperation as we work to secure peace and sustainability in our shared Arctic region. Greenland is facing difficult times, and I want to thank Canada for being a steadfast friend and supporter of our country.
The whole thing escalated, and now we are back on track, and as Vivian just said, the very first meeting have taken place. New meetings are scheduled, And I think we serve our best interest if we leave that discussion with these people who are dedicated to solve the problem in the diplomatic track.
Japanese voters are casting their ballots on Sunday in snap polls expected to hand Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae a resounding win. Opinion polls indicate that Takaichi's Liberal Democratic Party, which has governed Japan almost uninterrupted for decades, is on track to comfortably surpass the 233-seat threshold needed to a majority in the 465-member chamber. Pollsters say the LDP and its coalition partners could even capture as many as 310 seats, enough for a commanding two-thirds supermajority, though they caution that undecided voters and wintry weather could still influence turnout and final results. This would be the best result for the LDP since 2017, when Takaichi's mentor, the late ex-Premier Shinzo Abe, achieved a similar result. Voting stations were due to close at 8 p.m. local time, which is 11 GMT, with media predictions based on partial results expected soon afterwards. Meanwhile, rare snow blanketed Tokyo on Sunday, with record snowfall affecting voters and transport. It was only the third post-World War February election. Nationwide, 37 train lines and 58 ferry routes were halted, and 54 flights had to be cancelled, while minor traffic disruptions were also reported in the capital. In Thailand, eligible voters exercised their franchise on Sunday in an early general election seen as a three-way race among competing visions of progressive, populist and old-fashioned patronage politics. Elections in Thailand are being held after a turbulent 2 years, which have seen three prime ministers as reformist parties face off against conservatives who have repeatedly held on to power. No party is forecast to win an outright majority, and coalition negotiations are expected to follow the results. Analysts say the current Conservative Prime Minister could again retain office by forging an alliance with the Pheu, now polling third. Meanwhile, voters are also weighing in through a separate referendum, offering a signal on constitutional reform in principle, though no specific changes are on the ballot. And the Pheu Party's PM candidate, Yochanan, Thailand's People's Party PM candidate, Nathapong, and Thailand's incumbent Prime Minister Anutin have cast their ballots in the general election. Now, looking at the weather reports around the world, Tropical Cyclone Michelle has intensified as it has moved towards Western Australia's Pilbara region. Australia's Weather Bureau upgraded the system to a Category 3 cyclone, warning of destructive winds, heavy rainfall and possible flash flooding across the Pilbara region. Major ports have been closed as a precautionary measure. One of the ports, named Headland, is the world's largest iron ore export hub and serves mining giants. The federal agency forecast Cyclone Mitchell to make landfall between coastal towns Exmouth and Onslow. The authorities are urging residents to take safety precautions as severe weather conditions are expected to continue. Aerial footage on Saturday showed widespread flooding across Spain's Cadiz and Malaga provinces as Storm Marta compounded recent violent weather across the region. Successive storms, including Leonardo and now Marta, have dumped torrential rain, strong winds and snow, overwhelming rivers and infrastructure. More than 11,000 people have been forced to evacuate homes in Andalusia, while authorities have closed roads and rail services have been disrupted. Spanish weather officials have issued orange alerts and warnings of continued rain, coastal hazards and dangerous conditions. Italian alpine rescue teams have recovered the body of an ice climber from the Lilas Ice Falls in Konya. The incident took place in the Valle d'Aosta region in northwest Italy. The tragedy follows the death of 3 people in avalanches while skiing off piste in northern Italy. 2 avalanches struck the Marmolada area near Cortina di Ampezzo, a venue for the Winter Games. And time now to get to some sporting updates as well. England have begun their T20 World Cup campaign against Nepal at Mumbai's Wankhede Stadium. A 3-0 T20 series sweep over Sri Lanka was the perfect preparation for Harry Brook's side, and they are likely to prove a cut above Nepal, who are making only their third appearance at the tournament, having been completely outclassed in the West Indies and USA 2 years ago. Nepal lost all 3 of their completed matches in the 2024 edition, but will hope to put up better performance in this edition. And co-host Sri Lanka will also open their campaign against Ireland in Group B at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo on Sunday. The Lankals will be desperate to return to winning ways early in the tournament after 3 successive losses at the hands of England and a forgettable T20I tri-series in Pakistan last year. Ireland will look to improve on their disastrous show in the T20 World Cup in 2024, where they had failed to win even one match. Ireland are one of the most reputed lower-ranked teams which have produced some world-class performances in ICC tournaments. They will hope to pull off some huge upsets against higher-ranked opponents. And India began their ICC T20 World Cup campaign with a win. In their opening match played in Mumbai, the defending champions defeated the United States by 29 runs. The USA won the toss and chose to bowl first. India did not get off to a good start and at one stage had lost 6 wickets for 77 runs. For India, captain Suryakumar Yadav played a brilliant innings of 84 runs off 49 balls, taking the team's total to 161 runs for 9 wickets. In reply, the US team could manage only 132 runs for 8 wickets in 20 overs. For the US, Sanjay Krishnamurthy and Shubham Ranjane were the top scorers, with both scoring 37 runs each. For India, Mohammad Siraj took the most wickets, claiming 3. The Indian team will now play its next match against Namibia in Delhi on the 12th of this month. Now, individuals who made remarkable contributions in the fields of sports and physical education were honoured at the 8th PEFI Awards 2026, organised by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports and the Physical Education Federation of India. On this occasion, Vivek Saini, Director of Sports Operations and Management at the Paralympic Committee of India, was awarded the Best Officer and Judge honour for becoming India's first jury member after being nominated as an international jury member for international competitions by the International Paralympic Committee and World Shooting Para Sport. Meanwhile, Jeevanlal Rai, National Rifle Coach of the Indian Parachuting team, was conferred with the Best Coach for Para-Athletes award for his outstanding contribution in training para-athletes. And it took only one try for 24-year-old Franjo von Almen to claim Olympic gold in the men's alpine skiing downhill on Saturday as he eclipsed Swiss great and teammate Marco Odermatt. He made it look easy on the daunting Stelvio slope, but the path to gold had been far from smooth. After the tragic loss of his father when he was 17, his burgeoning career was almost stalled by a lack of funding. A trained carpenter, Almen turned to crowdfunding, allowing him to continue for one more season, and it paid off. He defeated Odermatt by a whopping 0.7 seconds to clinch gold for Switzerland.
Feels like a movie, but at the end I tried to see it as a normal ski race, like a World Cup race. Now when I see the medal, it's a little bit more special, I would say. And yeah, to start like this in the Olympics, it's crazy.
Now, the Open Masters Games Abu Dhabi 2026 has officially commenced, marking the West Asian region's largest ever mass participation multi-sport event dedicated to athletes aged 30 and above. The 10-day event draws over 25,000 competitors from more than 92 nationalities. Commonly known as the Abu Dhabi Masters, these games stand out as a truly unique event in the world of master sports. It marks the first ever major Masters multi-sport games to be held in West Asia. Unlike traditional World Masters Games, which often impose qualification standards, this edition introduces a fully inclusive open format with no barriers to entry, welcoming athletes aged 30 and above of all abilities, skill levels and backgrounds. The Games also set a regional precedent by incorporating 13 dedicated para-sports categories, making it the first Masters event in West Asia to champion such extensive accessibility for people of determination. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code, download the app. It's that simple. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Goyan from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.